Hey guys, I'm going to start off the classes.py with a couple of functions. So the first function you might recognize was that final velocity. You noticed I just have it commented out. I have the VI, the A, and the T, and return the VF. And this guy, I made a new function called displacement. Again, 3 parameters, VI, A, T, and here's the equation. It's the initial velocity times the time plus 1/2 times A times T squared. This double multiplication sign means square it. Like raise it to the nth power, and then return D. Now the question becomes, as you get in Python, like, man, do I want to have to call all these functions? So every single time I want to put in a single VI, A, and T, do I need to call final velocity? And then do I need to do the same thing for displacement, another VI, A, and T, and then call displacement? It seems kind of redundant, right? So that's kind of where classes come in, is where you can start grouping functions together under one definition, under a class definition, and the name is going to change from these being functions to methods. So let's go up to my classes.py, okay? Up above, you can see that I have class, and I've defined it, I've called it physics. Now you'll notice that I have this final velocity and this displacement that I'm going to fill out. And I also have this new function. It's called underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Okay, it stands for initialize. Okay, so in every init, I want you to keep in mind it's going to have this parameter self. Always. You can name it something other than self, but honestly, the Python community always uses self. I'm going to, within this init file, name my VI, my A, and my T again. Okay. Now what's cool about this is that this VI, A, and T will be used throughout the rest of these methods. Okay, these are now called methods. If they're inside of a function, you hear somebody go, oh, it's a method, what's this? They're just talking about functions inside of a class. Okay, so I'm going to name a variable, a self variable, self.vi equals VI. And then I'm going to do self.A equals A, and then I'm going to do self.t equals t. Basically, this initializes our variables. So every time in this class I put in a VI, an A, and a T, these self variables right here can be used throughout all methods within the class. So I could use it here and here. It's kind of going to abstract away me having to call this function and this function with different parameters every time. So let's rewrite these guys now with the self arguments. So I'm going to have self, I'm going to have VF again equals self.vi plus self.a times self.t, okay, and then I'm going to have it return VF. Same thing with displacement. Now notice in the displacement, I've just reciprocated the same function that I had below, but this time, instead of just VI times t, I have this self in front of it, okay? So when I come in here, what's going to happen in my physics class is I'm going to initialize my VI, my A, and my T, and what's going to happen is every single one of these guys, self.vi, self.a, and self.t, are going to be instance attributes in which can be used for each one of these methods. Okay, so I know I keep throwing this fancy wording around. So an instance attribute means when I call some example of this physics class up here, and I give it a VI, an A, and a T, those three guys can be used in each method below. Remember, method is just another name for function inside of a class. Okay, so let's run an example so that you can get a feel for it. I have a practice one right here. Okay, so notice I've called this physics class, I've wrote sample instance. Okay, you can name that anything. You could have named it X. Okay, so I'm going to do sample instance, which an instance is essentially the fancy terminology for calling the class with some attributes. Okay, I mean, everyone, there's more formal definitions, but that's pretty much it. So notice I've defined physics. I didn't put in the self parameter. I put in the 10, the 5, and the 1. That's representing the VI, the A, and the T. Okay, so 10, 5, 1. And then in sample instance, I can call each method by using the dot locator. Okay, so I use sample instance dot final velocity, and that's my VF. And then I'm going to do sample instance dot displacement, and that's going to be my D. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is I'm putting this 10, 5, and this 1 into this class, into this init method up here, and then the 10, the 5, and the 1 can be used in both the final velocity and the displacement. So when I go ahead and run it, I get 15 and 12.5. Okay, which makes me happy. So rather than me having to, like down here, define the function final velocity and type in 10, 5, and 1, and then define the function displacement and then type in 10, 5, 1, I can create this class with this init method, and then these variables, which are called instance variables, will be used throughout the entire call. By call, I mean that entire instance. So this is an instance of the physics class. I could create another instance of the physics class. I could name it hi. Whatever I want. Can name it something weird. Usually you want to name it something that makes sense, but this could be another instance, and I could do hi 5, 5, 1. Okay, and then I could call something else down here. Let's move this. This is a lot easier on the computer, but I promised the cell phone for ease. Okay, let's say I do hi 551. Now I can do print hi dot final velocity. Okay, and when I print this, let's take these guys out. That way they're commented out. When I run this, I get a final velocity of 10, which makes sense. I had 10, 10, 1, so it came in here. This instance had a 5, 5, 1, so the 5, 5, 1 went into here, so I had VI was 5, A was 5, T was 1, and then it called final velocity, which was 5 plus 5 times 1, so basically I got 5 plus 5. VF is now 10, and that's what it prints out when I run it. Okay, guys, I know that was complicated. Please watch it a couple times if you need to. There's also great people who I learned a lot of Python from, and I want to give them a couple shout-outs. This guy, Corey Schaefer. Has great videos on classes, inheritance, all that stuff. And then the other guy is Centdex. Centdex, I don't know your real name. I'm sure I've heard it before. Check these guys out. They got great Python tutorials, and yeah, they're phenomenal. It's where I learned, honestly, a ton of the Python that I've learned in my life, and then obviously lots of books and stuff. Anyways, hope that you had a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.